Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Adi Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where I feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, optimize, and implement processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And today's guest is Tonya Thomas. Hi, Tonya.
Hello.
It's great to see you. Great to have you on the podcast. So, Tonya, we met at Enterprising Women at the conference. So thank you, Monica Smiley, for your amazing work that you do and bringing entrepreneurs together, being able to meet, network, and meet great people like Tonya. And I wanted to bring you onto the podcast so we can talk about an area, a subject that is very much a subject that a lot of entrepreneurs need, which is basically help as an from an executive assistant, from somebody that can help them so they can delegate. So let me first of all read your bio and then we'll have the conversation.
Yes.
Okay, so you are the founder and CEO of Team Delegate, a virtual executive assistant agency that helps overwhelmed business owners reclaim their time through strategic delegation and high-level administrative support. With more than 25 years of experience in executive assistance and business operations, you help leaders stop doing everything themselves so they can focus on growth. You are passionate about helping entrepreneurs build stronger systems, maximize support, and step out of the day-to-day task holding them back.
Yes.
That's what you do, which is amazing. So, when we spoke, you said, we do systems, we document the systems, and you said, okay, well, systems alone are not enough, which is true, because then you have to put somebody there that can actually take that systems and get it done, because we can document all the systems that we want, but the executive's still going to wear all the hats. They're not going to get anywhere.
Right.
So, Tony, from your experience, what are the things that are stopping entrepreneurs from seeking for help or looking for executive assistance or delegating? What are the main barriers to that?
Sure. Trust is one of them. A lot of times people just aren't willing to trust and let go. I mean, they've started the business is their livelihood, and it's hard for them to trust someone to let go, to believe that they're going to be able to do it the way that they would do it. And then sometimes you also run into people who have delegated and it didn't go well. And so that also is a barrier because they're like, okay, I tried it. It was a disaster. I'm just going to pull and bring everything back. But those are usually the reasons why I run into people who aren't willing to let go and delegate.
Absolutely. So what do you say to that?
The people who have not done it before and they're still kind of apprehensive, it's like, okay, kind of dip your toe in the water, provide something that you need to release, but it's not client facing. So, they're usually a little bit more comfortable with that because it's something that's behind the scenes. And then over time, they see that it's being handled well and they'll build a little bit more trust and release things. And for those that it didn't go well, the key to that, I always say, is why. You've got to know why it didn't so that it doesn't repeat itself again. You don't have this repeated pattern. So identifying, what are some things, that maybe you could have done better or something they could have done better. Because it's usually, I find it's both sides. It usually is not all one-sided because typically, and I always tell people too, that delegating is a skill set that you have to learn. And it's not something that typically comes natural to any of us. And so that's the thing that I talk to people about in both camps.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the skill of delegating. So if you had to teach somebody how to delegate, where would you start?
Communication, that's always key. I think, knowing exactly what your goals are. Why are you getting help? That's key. Number one is knowing that, because that's important so that you can communicate that to the person, but you know that for yourself as well. So that way you're able to measure against that of how well it's going. Are you achieving those goals as a result of getting the support? So that's the big thing there. And then also, identifying exactly what it is where you need help, honing in on that. And then also, once you know that, kind of a way to be able to kind of manage the process without micromanaging, finding that healthy balance of checkpoints and stuff like that, so that, both of you are on the same page. So the communication, knowing what to delegate, and then that management piece of it.
For sure. So it's the communication. The management piece is the making sure that it's being followed and not falling back, like discipline yourself that, yes, you can do it faster and probably take it 5 minutes. When you delegate at the beginning, maybe it's 15 minutes, but it's 5 minutes that you're never going to
Have to do it
reclaim
again.
if you don't delegate.
Yeah.
Now, knowing what to delegate, I mean, that's something that we face all the time when we help business owners document their processes and procedures, because if you have it documented, then you can look at the process and go, okay, this part here, I don't have to do it. Somebody else can do it. And that for me, it's key. Wouldn't you agree that you actually have to understand your workflow to know what is it that you can delegate?
For sure. And that's super helpful if you do have the document procedures there, because you're right. Then you can see what part may have to stay with you and what part you can delegate. And so that's always helpful to have that type of information. And it also, when procedures are documented as well, it helps you go from being reactive to proactive also, because you're not reacting to things as they pop up. You have a system for it, a process for it.
Absolutely. So how, that's a question I'm being asked a lot in terms of, and I'm sure you do too, in terms of we have AI tools that can do a lot of things today. How does that affect actually having an executive assistant?
It helps in terms of, on our side, it helps us work more efficiently, because some of the things that we may have done kind of a little bit by hand, so to speak, we have tools now that help and speed up the process. But I always share with clients too, because I know I've ran into people also who have maybe said, well, and I got this now, this person can be my assistant. But it's like, be mindful of the time that you're spending with the tools, because some of the critical thinking piece there and the proactiveness that a human connection has, and sometimes is not in that AI tool. And so if you don't watch yourself, you can spend more time managing that. And so that's what I always tell people to be mindful of when it comes to AI.
That's right, because it can take more time, but also you have to have, that's why the people that you place, are high level, and we're not replacing a repetitive task. Like you said, in the past, we might have needed that, but now we can use an executive assistant that can use AI, but what you are getting is the human element that can make sure that they actually read the output. Because how many times, I mean, I've done it, you've done it, I'm sure, we put something to the AI, but we don't have the time, so we rush through and then go, did I actually write that? Oh, that was not me, but I didn't have the time to qualify. And that is dangerous. So that's where I use my executive assistant. Yeah, she definitely use AI, and I the paid version, and I give her the tools and everything, but she has to qualify everything that comes out of there and making sure it's without our voice. And not only that, she's also being able to create intelligent prompts, because the AI is wonderful, but it's only as wonderful as the prompts and the prompting that you are doing. So if you're not doing it correctly, or you're doing it because you don't have the time and just rush through, that's what you're going to get. that's where the important part is, that nowadays when you get an assistant, you have to have an assistant that can manage all the AIs, all the tools, all the applications, and then you can trust the process that what you're going to get out is going to be as good as what goes in.
Exactly. You're right. So yeah, it can become another nuance if you're not careful. So everything that you said, having still that EA is still needed to be able to manage those pieces so that you don't have to. But yeah, it's making her work more efficient as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Tonya, how long does it take for an EA to get up and running? How long is the onboarding?
Sure. And one thing like we like to do is, have a plan, because the more organized you can be in terms of getting somebody onboarded, the better. So we work with clients to help them develop a plan of what exactly they're going to delegate. And so we use that on the back end so that the EA has that information. So as long as that's getting everything together in terms of what applications are you going to use, what things do you need to have login access for, shared access for, all of those types of things. And if you do that in an organized fashion, someone can get up to speed working with you rather quickly. It depends upon the person and what things they need done. But as long as you're organized with it, usually, within a week or whatever, you're up to speed and you're ready to go.
Yeah, and then you can't live without it. I can tell you that it took me a few years to go, oh yeah, how can I get an executive assistant? How they're going to learn what I need to, my emails and my calendar. There's no way. And it's been years ago, but I cannot live without one right now. It just doesn't. I don't even understand how people can do it without. So I'm with you on that 100%. Yes. Well, Tonya, if our listeners would like to get a hold of you so they can find out more about you and the services, how can they do that?
Sure. We number one, our website, teamdelegate.com. And then I am on LinkedIn. I post a lot of information there. You can find me on LinkedIn at Tonya Thomas.
Awesome. Okay, and we'll include it also in the show notes. So thank you very much for being a guest on this podcast. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.